There are moments in life that feel very small, so small that we barely notice them when they happen. A message, a short vibration from your phone, a name appearing on your screen. You look at it, you read it, and then you do nothing. You tell yourself, I'll reply later, not now. Maybe in a few minutes, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. Because right now, you are busy, or tired, or distracted, or maybe you just don't feel like talking. It seems like such a simple decision, such a harmless delay. After all, it's just one message. It can wait, right? That's what I thought. And if you had asked me back then, I would have said the same thing without hesitation. It's not a big deal. But sometimes, the smallest moments carry the biggest consequences, not because they are important by themselves, but because of what they represent, or what they interrupt, or what they silently change. That message, the one I ignored, was from someone I cared about, someone who had been part of my life for a very long time. We weren't just friends, we were the kind of people who didn't need to explain everything, the kind who understood each other even in silence. We had shared years together. Not dramatic years, not perfect years, but real ones. Simple conversations, long walks, random jokes that made no sense to anyone else, comfortable silence, that kind of friendship. The kind you don't question, the kind you believe will always be there. Her name was Anna. And if you had seen us together, you would have thought the same thing. That friendship is solid. Nothing could break it. Nothing could change it. At least, that's what I believed. The day the message came, nothing felt unusual. It was just a normal day. I woke up late, rushed through breakfast, checked my phone quickly without really paying attention. There were a few notifications, emails, updates, and then her name, Anna. I remember seeing it, clear, simple, familiar. I opened the message. It wasn't long, just a few lines. Hey, are you free today? I kind of need to talk. That was it. No explanation, no details, just that. Simple words. But something about them felt different. Not urgent, not dramatic, but heavier than usual. I paused for a second. Just a second. Then I looked at the time. I was already running late. My mind immediately shifted. I'll reply later. That thought came quickly, naturally, without resistance, because that's what we always say, later. I locked my phone, put it in my pocket, and continued my day. Meetings, conversations, small tasks that filled the hours. Nothing important, nothing unforgettable, but enough to keep me busy. Every now and then, I would think about the message, just briefly, like a soft reminder in the background. You should reply. But each time, I pushed it away. I will, just not now. Because in that moment, it didn't feel urgent enough, not compared to everything else. And that's the strange thing. We don't ignore things because we don't care. We ignore them because we think they can wait, because we believe there will always be time. Time to reply, time to explain, time to fix things. But time doesn't always wait for us. By the afternoon, the message was still unanswered. By the evening, I'd almost forgotten about it. Almost, until I checked my phone again and saw another message from her. This one was even shorter. Never mind. Just 2 words. No emotion, no explanation. Just a quiet closing. I stared at the screen. For a little longer this time. Something felt off, different. But still, I didn't reply immediately. I told myself, she's probably fine. I'll text her later tonight. Because again, it didn't feel urgent enough. Not yet. not in a way that forced me to stop everything. So I continued. Dinner, a video, scrolling without thinking, letting time pass without noticing it, until the night became quiet and everything slowed down. That's when it came back to me, the message, her words. I kind of need to talk. And then, never mind. I picked up my phone, this time with a different feeling, something between curiosity and discomfort. I opened our chat again, read the messages one more time, slowly, more carefully, and suddenly, they didn't feel small anymore. They felt important, too important to ignore. I started typing. Hey, sorry I was busy today. What's going on? I looked at the message, read it again, then pressed send, and waited. A few minutes passed. Nothing. 10 minutes. Still nothing. I told myself, she's probably just busy now, just like I was earlier. So I waited more. But something inside me felt unsettled, not panic, not fear, just a quiet feeling that something wasn't right. That maybe, just maybe, this wasn't one of those moments that could wait. And for the first time that day, I started to wonder if ignoring that message had already changed something, something I couldn't see yet, something I couldn't fix easily. Because sometimes it only takes one moment of silence to create a distance that words can no longer reach. The silence after I sent that message felt longer than it should have, not because a few minutes had passed, but because of what I was starting to feel, a quiet tension, the kind that doesn't come from outside, but from somewhere deeper inside you. I placed my phone on the table, then picked it up again, unlocked it, locked it, as if something might change just by looking at the screen one more time. But nothing changed. No reply, no typing dots, no sign that she had even seen the message. I leaned back in my chair, tried to distract myself, turned on a video, listened for a few seconds, then paused it because my mind wasn't there anymore. It was somewhere else, back in that moment earlier today when I saw her name, when I read her message, when I decided to wait. I closed my eyes for a second, trying to remember her tone, the way she usually texted, the way she chose her words. Anna was never dramatic. She didn't send messages like, I need you right now. She didn't panic. She didn't demand attention. If anything, she was the opposite, calm, careful, respectful of space. So when she said, I kind of need to talk, that wasn't casual, and that wasn't random. That meant something, something important enough for her to reach out. And I didn't respond. The thought settled slowly, not like a sudden shock, but like a quiet realization that becomes clearer with every passing second. I looked at my phone again, still nothing. Then I did something I hadn't planned to do. I opened our old messages, scrolled up, slowly, through days, weeks, months, pieces of conversations we had forgotten, jokes, photos, random thoughts, simple check-ins. Did you eat? How was your day? Are you okay? Messages that seemed small at the time, but now they felt meaningful because they showed something, effort, presence, connection. I kept scrolling, further back, to a time when we talked every day, without effort, without thinking. It was natural, easy, comfortable, and then, slowly, things had changed. Not suddenly, not dramatically, just gradually. We didn't talk as much. Not every day, then not every week. Sometimes just a few messages here and there. And I never questioned it because I believe that real friendships don't need constant contact, that they can survive distance, time, silence. And maybe that's true. But now I started to see something else. Maybe it's not about constant contact, but it is about presence, about showing up when it matters. And today, she had reached out, and I wasn't there. I exhaled slowly, then stood up, walked around the room, came back, sat down again, picked up my phone, and this time, I called her. The sound of the ringing felt louder than usual, each second stretching just a little longer. One ring, two, three, four. Then it stopped. No answer. I pulled the phone away from my ear, looked at the screen. Call ended. No message. No response. I hesitated, then called again. This time, it went straight to voicemail. Something inside me tightened. Not panic, not yet, but something close to it. A quiet sense that I was too late. I sat there for a long moment, thinking, replaying everything again, trying to find a different outcome, a different version of the day, where I replied immediately, where I said, "Yeah, I'm here. What's wrong?" Where I made time, even just a few minutes. But that version didn't exist anymore because real life doesn't give you a replay. It only moves forward. And sometimes it moves forward without waiting for you to catch up. I looked at the time. It was late. Too late to show up at her place. Too late to pretend this was just a normal day. So I did the only thing I could think of. I sent another message. "Hey, I'm here now, if you still want to talk." I stared at it, then added one more line. "I'm sorry I didn't reply earlier." I pressed send and waited. Again. But this time, the waiting felt different, heavier, because now I understood what I might be waiting for. Not just a reply, but a chance that she might still want to talk, a chance that I hadn't missed something important. Minutes passed, then more minutes, then an hour. Still nothing. I didn't move, didn't turn on anything, didn't distract myself. I just sat there, listening to the silence, feeling it, letting it sink in. Because sometimes silence is not empty. Sometimes it's full of meaning, full of things unsaid, full of moments that didn't happen. And that night, the silence between us felt louder than any conversation we had ever had. I don't know how long I sat there. Time felt unclear, slow, heavy, until finally, my phone lit up, a message from her. My heart reacted before my mind did. I picked it up quickly, opened it, and read. "It's okay." That was all. Just 3 words, no explanation, no emotion, no invitation to continue. Just, "It's okay." I stared at the screen, waiting for more, but nothing else came. No second message, no follow-up, just silence again. But this time, it didn't feel neutral. It didn't feel calm. It felt distant, like something had shifted, something small, but real. I started typing, stopped, deleted, typed again, then stopped again, because suddenly I didn't know what to say. What do you say when you feel that something has changed, but you don't fully understand how? What do you say when the moment to respond has already passed? I put my phone down slowly and leaned back, looking at the ceiling, thinking about something I had never really thought about before, not deeply, not seriously. The idea that timing is part of communication, not just words, not just meaning, but timing. When you say something, when you respond, when you choose to be present. Because sometimes it's not what you say that matters most. It's when you say it. And that night, I realized something quietly, something uncomfortable, something I couldn't ignore anymore. I hadn't just delayed a reply. I had missed a moment, and maybe that moment had mattered more than I understood. The next morning didn't feel like a new beginning. It felt like a continuation of something unfinished, something quiet, something unresolved. I woke up earlier than usual, not because I wanted to, but because my mind didn't really rest. The message from last night was still there, not just on my phone, but in my thoughts. It's okay. 3 simple words. Words that should have felt comforting, reassuring, but they didn't. They felt distant, like a door that had been gently closed, not slammed, not locked, but still closed. I reached for my phone, checked it immediately. No new messages, no missed calls. Just silence. I opened our conversation again, read her last message, once, twice, trying to understand it differently, trying to find something between the lines, but there was nothing there. And maybe that was the problem. There was nothing left to read, nothing left to interpret, just a quiet ending to something that once felt so natural. I sat on the edge of my bed for a while, thinking, not about what I should do next, but about what had already happened. Because deep down, I knew this wasn't just about one message. This was about something bigger, something slower, something that had been changing for a long time, and I just hadn't noticed. Or maybe I didn't want to notice. I got up, went through my morning routine. Everything felt normal, too normal, like the world hadn't changed at all. But inside me, there was a quiet awareness now, a subtle shift, the kind that doesn't make noise, but changes how you see things. I kept thinking about her message from yesterday. I kind of need to talk, and I wondered what would have happened if I had answered right away. Would she have told me something important, something personal, something difficult, or maybe she didn't need a long conversation? Maybe she just needed to know that I was there, that I cared enough to respond, that I was present, and that thought stayed with me because sometimes people don't reach out for solutions, and they reach out for connection, for presence, for someone to say, I'm here. And yesterday, I wasn't. I went to work, sat at my desk, opened my computer, but my focus wasn't there. My thoughts kept drifting, back to her, back to us, back to all the moments we had shared, and something strange started to happen. I began to remember things I hadn't thought about in a long time. Small details, subtle changes, moments that didn't seem important before, but now felt meaningful. Like the last time she canceled plans, saying she was tired, or the time she replied a little later than usual. Shorter messages, less energy, less presence. And I had noticed it. Of course I had. But I didn't say anything because I assumed it was temporary, because I believed things would go back to normal, because I didn't want to make it a big deal. But maybe that was the mistake. Not asking, not checking, not being curious about what was changing. Because sometimes relationships don't break suddenly, they fade, quietly, slowly, through missed moments, unasked questions, unspoken feelings. And one day, you realize you're not as close as you used to be, not because of one big event, but because of many small ones. I stared at my screen, the cursor blinking, waiting, just like I was waiting for something I couldn't control anymore. Then suddenly, I made a decision. I couldn't just sit there and overthink everything. I needed to see her in person, not through messages, not through silence, but face to face, because some things can't be fixed through a screen. I picked up my phone, checked the time, still early. Then I stood up, grabbed my keys, and left. The drive felt longer than usual, not because of traffic, but because of my thoughts. Every possibility played in my mind. What if she didn't want to see me? What if I had already pushed her away? What if I was too late? but there was only one way to find out. I arrived at her place, parked outside, sat in the car for a moment, looking at the building. Everything looked the same, familiar, unchanged, but I knew something wasn't. I stepped out and walked slowly to her door. Each step felt heavier, not physically, but emotionally. I stood in front of her door, raised my hand, and paused, just for a second, because in that moment I realized something. This wasn't just about apologizing. This was about understanding, about listening, about being present in a way I hadn't been before. I knocked, once, then waited. A few seconds passed, then footsteps, soft, slow. The door opened, and there she was. Anna. She looked at me, not surprised, not shocked, just calm. "Hey," I said quietly. "Hey," she replied. Her voice was soft, neutral, not cold, but not warm either. And that hurt more than I expected. "Can we talk?" I asked. She hesitated for a second, then nodded. "Okay." She stepped aside. "Let me in." The room felt familiar, but the atmosphere was different, quieter, heavier. We sat down, not too close, not too far, just enough space to feel the distance between us. I looked at her, tried to find the right words, but for once, they didn't come easily. "I'm sorry," I said finally. "For yesterday." She nodded slightly. "I know." But she didn't say more. And I realized this wasn't going to be simple. This wasn't just about saying sorry. Because sometimes an apology comes after the moment has passed, and by then, something has already changed. Something that words alone may not be able to fix. We sat there in a quiet room that used to feel so familiar. Now, it felt different, not uncomfortable, not tense in an obvious way. But something had shifted, something subtle, something you couldn't see, but you could feel. Anna looked at me for a moment, not with anger, not with disappointment, just calm observation, as if she was trying to understand why I was there, or maybe why I hadn't been there yesterday. "I'm really sorry," I said again, slower this time, more carefully. I should have replied. She nodded. "I know," she said quietly, and again. She didn't say more. The silence between us stretched gently, not sharp, not aggressive, but present. I shifted slightly in my seat, trying to find a way forward. "I saw your message," I continued. "I just thought I could answer later." As soon as I said it, I realized how weak it sounded, how familiar, how common. She looked down for a second, then back at me. "I figured," she said. Her voice was steady, no emotion pushed forward, but something was still there, something held back. "I didn't think it was urgent," I added, and this time, she reacted. Not strongly, but enough. A small breath, a slight change in her expression. "Yeah," she said, "that makes sense." But the way she said it didn't feel like agreement. It felt like distance. I leaned forward slightly. "I'm trying to close that gap." "What did you want to talk about?" I asked. "I mean, yesterday." She didn't answer immediately. She looked away, toward the window, as if the answer was somewhere outside. Or maybe as if she needed a moment to decide whether to answer at all. Then she spoke, slowly. "I don't know if it matters now." Those words landed softly, but heavily. "What do you mean?" I asked. She took a small breath, then looked back at me. "I mean, it was something I needed in that moment." She paused. "But that moment is gone." I felt that, not just in my mind, but somewhere deeper, because I understood what she meant. even if I didn't want to. I'm here now, I said, trying to offer something. Anything. We can still talk. She smiled slightly, but it wasn't the kind of smile I was used to. It didn't feel warm. It felt polite. Sometimes, she said, being there later is not the same as being there when it actually matters. I didn't respond because I knew she was right, and there was nothing I could say to change that. She leaned back in her chair. Her posture relaxed, but her distance remained. It wasn't something dramatic, she continued. I wasn't in danger, nothing like that. I listened carefully, not interrupting, not rushing, because now I understood this wasn't about urgency. It was about presence. I just had a really bad day, she said. Everything felt heavy. She searched for the right word. Overwhelming. I nodded slowly, imagining her in that moment, alone, reaching out, not for solutions, not for answers, just for connection. I didn't want advice, she added. I didn't need someone to fix anything. She paused again. I just wanted to talk to someone who knows me. That sentence stayed in the air for a few seconds, quiet, clear, honest. And I thought of you, she said, her voice softer now, more personal. And you didn't answer. There was no accusation in her tone, no blame, just a simple truth. And somehow, that made it harder to hear. I'm really sorry, I said again, but this time the words felt smaller, less powerful, because I realized something. An apology can acknowledge a mistake, but it doesn't erase the moment that was missed. She nodded again. I know you are. And I believed her. She wasn't trying to punish me. She wasn't angry. But something had changed, something quiet, something internal. I waited for a while, she continued, after I sent that message. I felt a small tightening in my chest. I kept checking my phone. She gave a soft, almost distant smile. You know, that feeling. I did. Of course I did. Waiting, hoping, expecting a response from someone who matters. At first, I thought you were just busy, she said. So I didn't worry? She looked down at her hands. But after some time, she paused. I started to feel a little different. I stayed silent, letting her continue. Not angry, she said. Just less sure. Less sure about what? I asked quietly. She looked up at me. About where I stand in your life. That question, or maybe that statement, cut deeper than anything else she had said, because it wasn't about yesterday. It was about something bigger, something I hadn't realized was even in question. You matter to me, I said quickly, almost instinctively. I know, she replied, and you matter to me too. But then she added very gently, but sometimes it's not about what we feel, it's about what we show. Silence again. But this time, it wasn't empty. It was full of understanding, full of things that didn't need to be repeated. I sat there, taking it in, not defending myself, not explaining, just listening. Because for the first time, I wasn't trying to fix the situation. I was trying to understand it, really understand it. I didn't stop caring about you yesterday, she said, and I don't think you stopped caring about me either. She paused, but something shifted. There it was again. That word, shifted. Not broken, not destroyed, just changed. Quietly, subtly, but permanently. And in that moment, I realized something I had never truly understood before. Friendship is not only built on history, on shared memories, on time spent together. It's built on small present moments, on showing up, on being there when it counts. And sometimes, missing just one of those moments can change everything. We didn't speak for a while after that, not because there was nothing to say, but because everything that needed to be understood had already been said. Not loudly, not dramatically, but clearly, in a way that stayed with you. I sat there, feeling the weight of something I couldn't undo. Not a mistake in words, not something I said wrong, but something I didn't do. Something I didn't give when it was needed. My presence, and the truth was, I couldn't go back. I couldn't return to that moment when her message first appeared. I couldn't choose differently, because life doesn't offer that. It only shows you what your choices meant after they're already made. Anna looked calmer now, not upset, not emotional, just settled, as if she had already processed what she needed to feel, and I was only catching up. "I'm not angry," she said softly. "I want you to know that." I nodded. "I know." "And I don't think you're a bad friend," she added. Her voice was sincere, honest. I never thought that. I looked at her, trying to understand what she was saying, because sometimes what people don't say directly matters more. "Then what is it?" I asked quietly. "If it's not anger, and it's not that I don't matter." I hesitated. "Then what changed?" She didn't answer immediately. She looked at me as if searching for the simplest way to explain something that wasn't simple at all. "It's trust," she said finally. The word landed gently, but deeply. "Not big trust," she continued. "Not the kind where I think you would hurt me or betray me." She shook her head slightly. "I know you wouldn't do that." I listened carefully, because I could feel this was the part that mattered most. "It's the small kind of trust," she said. "The quiet kind. The kind where I believe you'll be there when I reach out." She paused. "And yesterday, that didn't happen." I swallowed slowly, because now it was clear. This wasn't about one message. It wasn't about one moment. It was about what that moment represented: a gap, a hesitation, a delay that said more than I intended. "I didn't mean to make you feel that way," I said. "I know," she replied. "And that's the hard part." She looked down for a second. "Because intention and impact are not always the same." That sentence stayed with me. Clear, simple, true. I leaned back slightly, letting everything settle, letting her words find their place inside me. "So what happens now?" I asked, not demanding, not expecting a specific answer, just asking. She took a deep breath. "I don't think anything dramatic needs to happen," she said. "We don't need to end things or say goodbye." That gave me a small sense of relief, but I didn't interrupt, because I knew there was more. "But I also don't think we can just go back to how things were," she added. There it was, the part I was quietly afraid of. Not loss, but change. The kind that you can't clearly see, but you feel in every interaction after. "I need some space," she said, "not because I don't care, but because I need to understand what this means for me." I nodded slowly, even though it hurt, even though I wanted to say, "We can fix this. Let's just go back." But I didn't, because I understood something now. You can't force closeness. You can't demand connection. And you can't rush someone into feeling the same way again. "I understand," I said, and this time, I truly meant it. We sat there for a few more minutes, not talking much, just existing in a shared space that felt both familiar and different at the same time. Then I stood up, slowly. "I should go," I said. She nodded. "Okay." I walked toward the door, then paused, turned back. I really am sorry, I said one more time, not to convince her, not to fix anything, just because it was true. She gave a small nod. I know. And that was enough. I left. The hallway felt quieter than usual. Or maybe I was just more aware of the silence now. I stepped outside. The air felt different, not heavier. I just clearer, like something had shifted inside me. I got into my car, but I didn't start the engine right away. I just sat there, thinking, not about what I could change, but about what I had learned. Because sometimes loss doesn't come as a complete ending. Sometimes it comes as a change, a distance, a quiet redefinition of something you thought was permanent. And in that moment, I understood something deeply. Relationships are not only built on time and memories, they are built on attention, on presence, on the small decisions we make every day to reply, to listen, to show up, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's not urgent, even when we think it can wait, because sometimes it can't. Sometimes that moment is the moment, the one that matters, the one that defines how someone feels about you. And missing it doesn't always break everything, but it can change something important, something quiet, something real. I started the engine and drove away, not with regret alone, but with awareness, the kind that stays with you, the kind that changes how you move forward. And since that day, whenever my phone lights up with a message from someone who matters, I don't wait. Not because I'm afraid, but because I understand now that sometimes a simple reply is not just a reply. It's a way of saying, I see you, I hear you, I'm here. And maybe that's what connection really is. Not something big, not something dramatic, but something small, consistent, and present. So if there's someone in your life who reaches out to you, even in a quiet way, even with simple words, don't ignore it. Don't delay it. Don't assume it can wait. Because one day, you might realize that it wasn't just a message, it was a moment. And that moment was your chance to show someone they mattered.